It is Tuesday, March 18th. I hope your St. Patrick's Day was awesome. So you guys, let's talk about civics. And more specifically, let's talk about elections. And more specifically than that, let's talk about the midterm elections. I know that the election is not until November, and I know that it's hard to get worked up about something that's not happening until November in March, and I know that it feels like you shouldn't have to care this year because it's not like the president is up for re-election or anything, but you should care. You should absolutely care about the midterm elections. They are really important, and here's why. So nobody is going to try to argue that the president is not an important guy. I think we all know that the president is important. He is the most powerful person on the planet, which is kind of scary when you think about it. Not one person should not have all of that power, and yet one does, but let's not think about that right now because we'll all freak out. Instead, let's remember that in our country, we have a system of checks and balances. We have 3 checks and balances. And the first check, our president, he's set. He's not going anywhere for a couple of years, so we don't have to worry so much about him. And the second check, the Supreme Court, they like where they're at. They're going to be there for a while. We don't have to think about that right now. But the third check, that's Congress. I'm pretty sure that we can all agree, regardless of our political leanings, that Congress has become something of a problem. No matter where you live in this country, someone from your district is up for re-election this year, because that's how it works. Every 2 years, we get to decide whether or not we like the Congress that we have and whether or not we want to do something about it. Every 2 years, and I'm going to keep saying that, every 2 years, every member of the House of Representatives has to go home to his or her home district and convince the voters of that district that he or she is doing a good enough job at being in Congress to be sent back to Congress. And every 2 years, those voters get to decide yay or nay. You are going to be one of those voters this year. And this year, there are a bunch of Senate seats that are up for grabs. Because of how Senate re-election works, it's complicated. You can look it up. How we vote is going to determine the makeup of our Congress for the next 2 years. And that makeup is going to determine whether or not our government gets anything done before the next presidential election. And maybe you're okay with them not doing much. That's your prerogative. Maybe you're okay with paying an average of I was going to do the math to figure out the salaries of Congress so that we could figure out how much exactly we are spending on every day that they don't do anything to pay them to not do anything. But that's math, and I don't really math. My resistance to math is not indicative of my political preferences. You probably, at this point, want to respond with something like, but that's the federal government, and that's what they do, and they move so slowly, and they get so little done, and it's so frustrating how they never work for me, and I'm getting carried away because I understand. I understand. It's really frustrating when you vote somebody in, and it seems like all they do is argue for arguing's sake, because arguing is arguing, and arguing is fun, or something else that's infuriating. But part of the reason that the federal government moves so slowly is because they look to the local governments for precedent. And yes, this is the part where I talk about local elections, because those are happening this year too. This year, we are going to be electing governors, and we're going to be electing state senators and state house members and county commissioners and mayors and planners and people. There's just so many people being elected this year, and who we elect at the local level is really important, because laws passed at the local level affect your life immediately and in very personal ways and set precedent for federal law. And because I know you guys love examples, I thought of one. Right now, the federal government is arguing over immigration reform. And we'll probably be arguing for a while because it's a touchy subject and it's tricky and it's hard to figure out a way to get everybody on the same page with it, etc. And even if we pass something tomorrow, by Friday, there would be a problem, because that's how it works. But at the state level, Arizona passed the Papers, Please law. Remember that, Jen? And the federal government is now looking at the precious little piece of legislation that the Papers, Please law was and saying, no, we cannot have that at the federal level. We can't have that everywhere. Because what a problem that would be if that was everywhere. And it really is playing a role in what gets decided at the federal level for immigration reform, if we ever get anything settled on immigration reform. Kind of a pipe dream, I think, but that's a subject for another time. So why is this important? And why am I talking about this now in March when the election is not until November? It's important because who we elect in November will have a direct impact on what happens to our lives for the next 2 years. These are the people that we are saying we trust enough to put in charge of us. That's a big deal. And I'm talking about it now because I want to make sure that you guys have all of the tools that you need to make an informed decision on election day. And that means that you should not be waiting until November 1st to figure out who you're voting for. We are going into primary season right now. This is the perfect time to start learning about which candidates are running and what they stand for and what they want to do. And yes, it's true. Not everybody is going to get all of their way all of the time. But you can start figuring out who you trust the most with your livelihood. And the more time you give yourself to learn and to do the research and to talk to people, the better informed your decision will be and the better you can feel when you drop that ballot off at the ballot box or mail it in if you live in a mail-in ballot state like I do. And hopefully we can elect some really great people in November to do some really great things over the next couple of years. Yes, I know that's a Pollyanna sunshine way to look at it, but come on, wouldn't you rather think about it positively than negatively and just get discouraged? If you go into it thinking that you can affect change, then you will affect change. So, the ball is in your court and you are at bat and you are running in a race. I probably shouldn't use sports metaphors when I don't sports. And that's it for me today, you guys. Thank you for putting up with my civics nerdery because I love civics. It's so much fun to talk about. And I will be back later this week with another video. In fact, I am so sure that I'm going to be back this week with another video that if I am not back with another video on Thursday, you can punish me. Oh yeah, I said it. You can punish me if I don't post a video on Thursday by 11:59 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Those of you who might be 8 or 9 hours ahead of me. You know who you are. Okay, thanks for watching. I really appreciate it, and I will see you on Thursday. See you later.